and having self-belief. Again, overconfidence is different, having self-belief is different. So believe in yourself that you'll be able to make it very big. And last but not the least, in my childhood I used to think that I will become the next Ambani. But as I started growing up, the reality started hitting me hard, saying that, yeah, this is really tough.
Hi, Al, how are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much. So I'll tell you just about what this podcast. I have already started the.
Sure.
I'll continue with this only. So basically, this podcast is all about a candid talk with you about your journey, experiences, hustle, and everything you have faced in your life because you have a lot of experience before you started SuperK. So we'll discuss about all this thing and also about the journey of SuperK, the business model, and investment round, and everything all related to business. So the basic TG of this video is somebody who is an aspiring entrepreneur or somebody who wants to collaborate with you and all this thing. So let's start it from very scratch. Firstly, I'm like too much excited because I'm also an aspiring entrepreneur, so it's going to be a learning lesson from me also. Thank you so much for joining. I should thank you again. So please with your journey. So please, can you please continue with your journey of experiences? What you had? You have worked in the multiple companies. So how did all this happen?
Sure. So yeah, 2012, graduated from Pilani, and post then most of the time I spent with startups itself. The first startup that I did come across was Hike Messenger, where I was part of the growth team, part of the team that helped all the teenagers and maybe some people out of their teens immediately, helping them hide their chats from parents, friends, and family, send those lovely stickers to their boyfriends or girlfriends. Part of the team which did that was there at the company since when we were doing from 300,000 daily active users, scaled it to 9 million daily active users. And that was when the startup bug, that was when I actually realized what a VC ecosystem was. And I came back to Bangalore to start up a company called Flabberin, which is similar to CureFit in Southar. But it did not take off as we expected. Hyperlocal was not the so cool thing back then, and we weren't able to raise funds. And all of us were acquired by Byju's. So there at Byju's, I shipped their first iOS app to the App Store, worked on some retention pieces for them, and then went on to work with PhonePe. So there at PhonePe, I joined as a growth hacker, but thanks to Demon, growth was organic to them. So then I was looking at the analytics piece, working on the merchant integration pieces. So today when you check out of Flipkart, Myntra, Jabong, Make My Trip, all these companies, right? So the interface that you see, maybe today it has changed a bit, but back in those days, I was looking at the data, number crunching day in day out to build some recommendations on those pieces, and create a more conducive application for people to use. So that was the piece that I was working on at PhonePe. And that was when a very interesting opportunity came my way with this company called Cowardom, which is Urban Company's Southeast Asian counterpart. So I had the opportunity to shift base to Malaysia, build, head their product and tech team. And it was an amazing thing, staying out of India and then working with people across different nations and getting things built. Very, very interesting cultural experience mix, that I could say. And it was a great experience. So and then 1.5 year, I think we, let's say, shifted the direction of the company from being a business first company to a product and tech led company. And I think that was the time when we also had an integration with Grab, the super app of Southeast Asia. So like one of those first, let's say, Grab was building a super app, and we were the first in-app application for Grab, one of the first applications. And I was spearheading that entire integration with Grab, and I was also working with. So maybe some bit of the PhonePe experience came in handy there. Was working along with the Grab team to build different things on how the merchants or maybe whoever the in-app audience could be, how they would be using the application. What are all the, say, the tech and infrastructure related things that they would need to make it a more, say, beautiful experience, was something that I was working on.
Sure, man, sure. So since you were discussing about all this thing, the first thing came into my mind was hike. Okay, so I was also an active. A lot of my friends were there in the hike. We used to talk a lot in it because the sticker was the big game. Okay, that was a different,
Yeah.
was too much fun. Okay, so I just want to understand this part. How did it you suddenly lost all the users? Because it was one of the great apps at that time. What happened actually? What was the like one reason which led to this thing?
So I think it was going great, right? Like, but I think there is this thing of the early mover advantage which WhatsApp had,
Okay.
and then also the user base, right? So when you are in a social media application,
Hmm.
the thing that keeps you in that application is the user base,
Okay.
your network.
Hmm.
So hike, how much ever we tried, I don't think we were able to bring more audience into that network. And let's say maybe hike was still that cool application for the younger generation,
Yeah.
but if you don't have your let's say WhatsApp became even more predominant
Hmm.
in the community, right? All the office groups started moving there,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, and WhatsApp also started introducing stickers and all these things, all the GIFs and everything. So then I think that was where it lost
Basically,
track.
I'll
Or
tell
I
you
would say it
what.
lost to the competition.
Yeah, basically, I'll tell you what my experience was, what I felt, what was the reason why I stopped using Hike. Okay, I felt like too many things were there. Okay, so initially it was a sticker, which was a reason why we came to Hike. Okay, then it was like the story you guys have introduced, and then you came with story likes, liking the story, multiple like you can like infinite like or this whole thing, which came like why all these things are there. So that is why some like pull off factor was there. So that is what I have like introduced, but it was like one of a storm came when I was there.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people felt the cool thing that about hike was the stickers, but from the data, what we could clearly understand was there was a lot of hike to offline wala feature as well, which is working well for us.
Okay.
When I say hike to offline, it's like when people do not have hike, you could message them and they receive it as a
Yeah,
message.
exactly. Yeah, now I recall. Yeah, correct, 100%.
But what also started happening is that the geo revolution and everything,
Mm.
right? Internet was easily accessible to everyone,
Mm.
and then WhatsApp started picking pace even faster.
Okay.
So
Great.
all the other cool things you did mention, right? Ki, again, many a times the biggest learning for me at Hike was I am not the user.
Okay.
So I might have felt that what is this? Why was this? Why would this feature even work? So for example, one of the things that me and the team introduced were the messages from Natasha chatbot,
Ah,
right? A joke in the morning
yeah.
or a quote in the evening. That was what we were doing. I was like, I was given the reins to do that.
Mm.
It felt like yeah, who would even give a damn about this? But there were a lot of people who were consuming that content.
Correct.
So because of the stories, we were able to see a lot of people were putting the same message that they were receiving in their stories.
Mm.
Because India is a country in which people just want to share.
Correct.
They want to have that pride that I have shared it first
Mm.
than anyone else.
lot of
So
lot of things which
where were
was providing was amazing, but like for example the chat hiding with a password was a unique thing, plus the one Natasha you told where that was a good thing, plus sticker plus all this thing, but then it led to bringing more and more and more and more every day. We are saying okay, oh, this more, this one more, this more feature. So then from trying multiple thing, then people, I don't know, means you might better know that when.
Yeah, so you might have even overcomplicated things. So as I said, right, till the time I was there, 2015 was like the peak of hike, where everything was going right in their in the direction which they wanted. I think even till 2017 they did phenomenally well,
Hmm,
but after that only it did not click off as take off as it expected.
correct.
Yeah, there can be multiple reasons. I don't think I can pinpoint to one. As in, if we were able to pinpoint to one of it, then they would have done that right.
Sure. Let's go back to SuperK. Okay, so
Sure.
how this idea came into your mind? What was the motivation behind it, and what is the business model? Can you just explain in brief?
Sure. So, grocery is a business which is very, very close to my heart. right? So my maternal family owns rice mills and rava mills in a region of Andhra Pradesh. So since my childhood, I've seen them, in the rice mills. I've seen these grocery stores where all my my grandparents used to be working there, right, day in day out. They used to go a lot of distance to purchase these products from a nearby town. They used to take an off on a Tuesday. They used to go buy these products, come back, sell the products in the small town. And even for the rice mills and all, so they evolved from operating kirana stores to having rice mills, right?
Okay.
So that journey or that evolution was something which was very, let's say, I had the opportunity to see it firsthand. It was very interesting journey, and I always wanted to do something in the grocery space. Right, small towns again. I was born and brought up in the small towns, so was there something that we can do for the small towns with the grocery? Was something which was always there in the back of my mind. I always wanted to go back and open up like a large factory in the small town where we could manufacture a very different products and have a lot of people working there. That was the initial. Those are like the small ideas in the childhood. But once I started growing up after BITS Pilani, I again even then there was no connect to the VC industry. For me, it was all like you need to have a lot of money to even start a business. Again, my maternal family was into the business, but my paternal family was into say normal corporate sector.
Okay.
Right? So we didn't have any business backing per se. So it was always like you need to have a lot of money to start a business and do everything of that sort. But in 2013, I left my job. I went back to Hyderabad to start a grocery business because in my mind it was like rice is selling. So as we do rice business, right, it was selling cheap in the small towns, and in Hyderabad people were buying it almost like 50% higher than what it gets sold at a rice mill. So I was looking at there's this large arbitrage of the supply chain. Thought I could capitalize on it and do something. I was interacting with metros, Walmarts, and everyone, some store managers with those people there. So that was the time when Big Basket started in Hyderabad.
Okay.
And everyone looks things at as volumes in grocery business.
Yeah.
The volumes matter to people. So they used to not call it as ridiculous. They used to tell me that this online business or whatever that you are thinking doesn't make any sense. Look at Big Basket; they get only two Tata Aces to us on a daily basis. The business is very small. There is no opportunity here. Again, I was naive as well. I didn't know much. I believed in them and I did not take the plunge. And fortunately, went on to do something at Hike.
Okay.
So that was the very interesting piece of exposure to the VC industry, how startups operate, right? So on one side you have this thing of the traditional business, and on the other side you have the VC or the startup ecosystem. So I was always imagining if there could be a match for both of this. That was something which was going on in my mind for very long, and I think later there was a friend who started up in Vizag doing this company called Urban Grocery, right? So Urban Cart was the company name. So he was doing grocery delivery online. Now, then I wanted to go back and join him, but he was like, dude, I don't have so much of business that it would make sense for you to leave a comfortable job and come work with me. So even then, the grocery stint did not work out. And after me going to Malaysia and working there, I was looking at that very close trend of people, purchasing products from established chains. So there were not many mom and pop stores in all these countries, let's say Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore. There were predominantly, supermarket chains that were working. So even though there might be like 5 or 6 stores, but it was part of a chain. It was not like individual running that. Now that did strike a chord, and at the same time, my co-founder Neeraj, pinged me that he was also in Vietnam. He was traveling to Kadapa, the place where we are operating today. So he started sharing with me that I see that can there be an arbitrage play that we can have with the same rice business. We started with that, and then I think we went deeper and deeper into that discussion. Again, it was like it started in January 2019. And by April 2019, we sort of came up with this idea saying that, maybe we can create a brand of supermarket chains that can be franchised and operate in the small towns of India. So it was not a 1 day thing or a 2 day thing. For me, grocery was like, it was almost like a 7 years journey with grocery. And then, with Neeraj, this 3 months of ideating was how SuperK got formed.
Okay. So first thing, when I read about your business and how this all works and everything, first thing came into my mind. I might be completely wrong. I'm just creating an analogy. Just tell me if it's right. Are you trying to create OYO for retail stores? Is it something of that analog?
So I think for many people to understand what we were talking, right, we felt that might be a better analogy, and we started, explaining to people in that manner. But I think the better parallel would be MedPlus.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So OYO, as you can see it, that they have an existing, let's say, hotel or anything that they are converting. But with MedPlus, if you can look at it, there are like a lot of new age entrepreneurs who are starting up this business of franchisee medical stores. So similarly, even at SuperK, there's a lot of new age entrepreneurs coming, taking up our franchises and doing the business. So yeah, OYO, I would say some part of it is true. If you look at the standardization piece, if you look at the branding piece, might be, but I think we have many similarities with MedPlus. That's how we like to bring up an analogy.
Sure. Before we go into the deeper into the business and everything, I just want to understand why this name SuperK. Does this mean something, or is it?
So I think we started with this concept saying that the name that we started off was local buy. So even our initial pitch decks and everything was local buy local. That was how we started about it. But we felt that it might not have a connect with the small town audience that we would want to target.
Okay.
And let's say if I want to come up with something in Andhra, and I wanted it to resonate with everyone in the country as well, because we want to expand. That is the plan, right? We want to expand in the country, and even if given a chance, even outside of India.
Okay.
Right now, the thing which struck with us was, it's called supermarkets. Supermarkets, everyone knows it. Sure. You need some aspiration of English, and you need some localization that which everyone can understand. Okay. So then we said that, let's call it Super Kirana.
Kirana. Okay.
Right. So then what also happened was, when we put it out to create a logo or anything, it didn't sound so aspirational. Like, Kirana, Super Kirana. It felt like, okay, man. Right. But then we cut it short. We said SuperK. So that was how the name came up.
Great, man. Great story. So let's go from the initial stage of the business. You definitely must have started with the bootstrap. Was it like you started reaching out to investor in the pre-revenue period, or you continued with some bootstrap amount and then you reached out to investor? What was this process in the very initial stage of starting a business?
So the most important point that we could understand is that, I can go bootstrap, but it is not that I have tons of money to do a bootstrap business, right? So, but doesn't mean that I can't even get started. Okay. So we got started, but on the parallel, we were also discussing or sharing this with a lot of other friends who are in the startup ecosystem and with many angels, right? We were ideating along with them. Now, very interestingly, the urban cart friend that I did mention some time back, right, who was doing grocery in Vizag, so he had to shut down. Okay. And then he opened up 2 stores. So he came back from the US. He went to US for a couple of years. He came back, and then he started a couple of stores in Vizag called Urban Mart.
Okay.
So this time, because we made an entire business plan that this is how this can work. Instead of us directly getting into the business and thinking that, do we need to put our money and all, we started working with him. Okay. So we helped him, saying that, can you do these activities? Would this change anything in your life? Does this GMV increase with this? Right? What are all the things that we can do to increase the GMV of the store? So with every small activity that we did at the store, again, it's not that we went and executed it. So we were ideating with him. We were telling him that this can be done, this can be done. So he did those activities, and the GMV increased by 40 to 50%.
Okay.
in that particular store. Now that gave us some confidence that we can go and do this by ourselves. Now for starting up a small grocery store, you don't need more than 5 to 6 lakhs. So, and maybe if you want to set it up completely from scratch, then it takes you around 10 lakhs if you want all the racking and everything in place as well. So that's a capital which Neeraj and I, definitely had. We didn't have to think much about it. So it was easy for us to get started. But, in this age that we are in, it doesn't make sense for me to open a one shop, wait for 12 more years or 10 more years to build. Like you want to have the scale of DMart, but you don't want to have it at that same pace.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So that was the reason why we started reaching out to angels. We were very clear that this money is for, say, expediting the growth, not for survival of the business.
Okay.
So we reached out to angels. Kushal of First Check was one of our who gave us our first commit, one of the very, very early investors. And then there were more angels who signed up. And with all of them, we were able to close a decent sized round, and we could get started. So December 2019, we started the I shifted back to India in September 2019.
Yeah.
So we scouted for a good place because we're talking about franchisee model. No one would even believe you, right? In the small town, you don't even have anything, and then you are telling someone to take my brand. Your brand has no value. Your brand has even lesser value than the name that he has in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So it was very tough. So we thought that, maybe we'll take up a store and then we will start it up ourselves from the scratch. So we started working with a store partner. And in the initial days, we were like, we'll buy it off with the capital that we both were putting in. But over the period of, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, he understood us. He felt that, these guys are genuine enough that he could try this experiment with us, and he didn't see any downside of the business. Great. And that was how the first store itself was a franchisee store. So we didn't have to put any of our capital into it. So, but yeah, it was 3 weeks convincing journey for us.
Great.
And once that did happen, I think we raised an angel in January 2020. Money hit the bank account. And that was when we started adding more people into the team and started scaling it up.
So when you reach out to investor, it was in a pre-revenue period, right?
Yeah, with the deck, and I think with some, let's say, backing of these numbers from Urban Mart that we did our pilot.
Okay, got it. So I see, being an entrepreneur who has very lesser idea about how this funding process work, how this investment process work, everything, how difficult it is to convince an investor when you are in a pre-revenue period, because majority of the investors, angel investors specifically, wants to see that it's a product market fit or not by seeing the revenue scale and all this thing, that you are converting a good amount of revenue and all this thing. In the world where everybody is searching for some businesses where it should have a go-to-market strategy and product market fit, how can we convince the investor by saying that it's in a pre-revenue period, but it's a wonderful idea? How this entire process works, how difficult it is for somebody who's reaching out to investors, angel investors to be very specific, asking them to fund their company in a pre-revenue period. Not more investors are interested because everybody wants to know that is it your product market fit or not, or by seeing some kind of revenue in initial months or something of that sort. So how difficult it becomes for somebody who is pitching them to investors in the initial time to convince them that it's a good idea you should invest in, because they don't have a much revenue to show.
So I think many of these investors are logical investors, right? I don't talk about the VCs per se, but because for them it's a larger check and everything. They come in at a different stage today, though they are taking bets on pre-revenue. But many of the angels, that's the reason why they are called angels, right? They take a bet on individuals. And I think even if they take a bet on individuals, it is more about how prepared you as an entrepreneur are to answer logical questions that they would pose to you.
Yeah.
So that's what I think till date, be it starting it from angels or, till the last recent fundraise that we did, we had answers to almost all the questions that people, had. So it's very important for you to give logical explanations to people backed with data on how you can do it, on let's say how the business model will work, right? And then the bet is more about the people, saying that do these guys have the capability to execute?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because having a very clear understanding of the business is one, and the capability to execute is the other piece.
Correct. Correct.
So even when we were pre-revenue, I think again, as I said, right, it started in Jan 2019 until December 2019. It was a very, very, let's say, large time frame in which we were ideating or refining the business statement, the problem statement, and the business model without investing any money.
Okay.
Right. So we made a business model so solid enough that till today nothing changed in our business model fundamentally.
Great.
So many of our competitors, they experimented with different models and they have evolved into the business model, or they have come up with the business model which we are doing today, but after spending money. But me and Neeraj were very clear that this time when we're doing it for the second time, both of us, we would be having a very solid business plan or business model first and then getting into the execution, because good planning is half the battle won.
Okay. Great, great, man. For basically, we can like conclude it with your statement. Basically, somebody who's new in industry, who don't have much idea about the market and how does it work, and they don't have much idea about working in some company or so, it becomes difficult for them. Not for you guys or somebody who has been part of multiple companies, have done a lot of things in their life, so they know how business works, how this industry works. They just have to be very clear, and the clarity of idea should be there, and then it becomes not that difficult for you guys. But for somebody who is like a fresher, kind of fresher in the industry, it becomes difficult for them, because I don't think investors are ready to play a bet on them.
No, I think even in college, right, it also depends upon what are all the things that you were able to pull off.
Okay.
Now, there would be many people who take a bet on. Now, when you talk to someone, you also understand whether this person is all faff or this person has the capability to pull off. Because you can also ask questions on what they have done in their previous life, be it in college or at any place else. Were they enterprising enough? Right. So again, getting the connects may be a bit hard, but once a connect is done, anyone is the same.
Great, man. Great. So how this, like, for example, I'm asking for those entrepreneurs who want to learn more about the businesses right now, how this all process of funding, because it's a new age thing. Because previously, when we see our fathers and their business skills, they were always into the businessmen. Now it's a startup culture. So all wanted to learn about funding process and investment process, and how this preferential shares and how this all process work, how difficult it is to understand. Means it is a rocket science thing to understand, or is it a very simple process? How would you describe it?
I think it's an evolving thing, right? So even today, maybe I also do not have a very detailed understanding of the legal terminologies and everything. But when you are in that stage, you start to learn, you start to understand. And it's about building a network with a set of people that you can always reach out to and ask them.
Okay.
Now, let's say if you get some angel, right, you can always reach out to them and ask them that, these are the terms. Can you explain me what this is? No one would be like, yeah, go and study and come back. Everyone has been through that journey. They'll explain.
Okay. Great, man. But initially, how you reach out to investors, is it difficult? For example, you might have a lot of connection. I can understand that. But for somebody who is like not great at, not have done like a lot of big things what you have done, how were they able to connect to big investors or big good angel investors in simple terms?
So I think some of us did have. So for us, we had connections which helped us do this round. But even as I said, right, connections can only help you to get a meeting. Nothing more than that.
Correct.
But even for that getting a meeting piece, I believe that you can cold email people too. So I don't have many angels who I did a cold email and got them on board, but I was able to get a meeting at least.
Okay.
Many folks just reached out to them, asked them that, can we have a discussion? No, we did have those conversations. Some of them were okay, some of them were not okay.
Hmm.
So it's fine, man. You can just cold email people. I, from my experience, I have seen that almost all the founders that I have ever reached out to, everyone replied.
Hmm. Correct. Correct.
Not today, right? When I was a nobody as well. Everyone loves to read those emails. Everyone, sends that response. But you can't just be like a fanboy reaching out to them. There needs to be some merit
Yeah.
in the discussion too.
They can quickly understand by your mail, by learning that what all clarity you have about your business and what exactly the things you are seeking from me. Is it just money you're seeking for the expertise also, or what is the basic need of like connecting with me? So I think that is a bigger picture.
Yeah, I think it's also about, I used to hear a lot of podcasts. Now it's that, it gets tough to find a time. But whenever I used to listen to a podcast, I used to drop an email to that founder saying that, this piece is what I loved about your podcast. This is what is my takeaway from this. It was nice knowing you. Or even to many of the VCs, whenever they had those podcasts, I used to write down those messages to them saying that this was something that I carried away from this, but I have a different opinion in a particular thing that you did mention. If they are okay, they'll clarify. If not, they would not.
Great.
But yeah, I just used to drop those emails.
Got it, man. Got it. You have to do it. It's a percentage game. Basically, if you are like mailing 100 people, just assume like keep it for 1-2%. 1-2 people will come back with a good response or come back with a response. So basically,
Yeah. So I think there have been a lot of, recently I came across a lot of new age entrepreneurs, fresh out of college, raising funds. That was what they did. They reached out to tons of people. Again, you don't need a yes from everyone.
correct.
A yes from one person can change everything.
100%. That's the game to play. It's like, for example, if you're seeing there's a 0.1 conversion, then you just have to reach out to 1,000 to get it one. So basically, it's that simple the game is. Okay.
Yeah. See, we are not putting our money. We can at least write emails to people.
Yeah, that yeah, exactly, got it. So yeah, okay, so let's come back to SuperK again. So are you, is it the revenue thing or the valuation thing for your company is confidential, or you can share it some insight for it?
So maybe before that, I'll touch upon what SuperK exactly is for a lot of people, right? So SuperK is a franchisee grocery retail chain for the small towns of India. Right now, if you look at in Bangalore and all the metros, we see a predominant penetration of modern trade retail chains in India, like a More, Spencer's, Godrej, Nature Basket. In Bangalore, you have Namdaris and all these Ratnadeep and all these players. Right now, these are all company operated stores, which are run by employees who work 6 days a week, work on 9-hour shifts. Now, a grocery store operates for 365 days, 18 hours a day. Now, if you want to run such a business, then look at the number of people that you would need. It's almost for every activity that needs to be done, you need 2 more additional people.
Correct.
And generally, as per our math, it tells us that for any store to do decently well, they would need 40 to 50 lakhs from a store to break even. Because the real estate cost, which is very, very important in the grocery business, that is the reason which DMart is the king today, because they own the real estate, right? All these companies pay for real estate. When they go and negotiate a rent, people would charge them basis per SFT, 60 rupees per SFT, 80 rupees per SFT, or 100 rupees per SFT. Right. Now, what this means is for any store to break even, they would need to do at least 50 to 60 lakhs in GMV, with all the additional costs that they have, the AC and everything that they put in. Now, for them to replicate that model in the small towns, where the population itself will not be able to suffice their break even, they will not be able to build good business there.
Correct.
Now, that doesn't mean that people of the small towns do not want to experience, good format grocery stores.
Definitely.
Now, there's a gap. There's a wide gap there. These brands cannot penetrate deeper into the country, and the stores that are operating today, it doesn't make sense for them to give that experience because they feel like it's an overhead cost. All the over-the-counter retail stores in India. And none of these over-the-counter retail stores would be allowing people to walk in, pick and choose those products. In our childhood, I'm sure most of us middle-class families do relate to it. All of us had one brand of toothpaste, one brand of soap at our homes.
Okay.
But today, the family in a 4 people family itself, the kids use different toothpaste, the parents use a different toothpaste, they have a different preference of soap, powder, and everything. Now, the over-the-counter retailing made sense back in those days where the SKU mix was very limited. But today, it is not the case. Everyone wants to pick and choose all the products. Now, both these worlds are falling apart. People cannot come here. These people cannot upgrade here. That is where SuperK comes into the picture.
Great.
So we come and say that, for a customer in the small towns, we will offer a modern shopping experience with the help of the local entrepreneur. Now, we give it saying that it is a franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated supermarket.
Okay.
Everything that can scale in this business, which is procurement, everything which can benefit from the scale, which is procurement of all the products, technology, and the supply chain operations, marketing, branding is something that we take care of. But things which cannot scale, which are at every place that you go, you have to replicate the same activities. There's no benefits of scale. We leave it to the local entrepreneur there, negotiating the rental for the real estate, managing the end customer, having a great shopping experience for the end customer is something that we leave to the store partner. Maintaining costs, because these are the things which cannot scale. This guy is ready to operate 14 to 15 hours a day and run it 365 days, because for them it is a way of life. They don't expect like you and me to have a vacation, a holiday, because that is what their life is, right? Not that we are encouraging the behavior. We help our store partners take a break because we are encouraging new age entrepreneurs coming and taking up our franchises, right? So, but what this tells us is there is a lot of frugality that these guys are able to bring in, which none of these company operated stores will ever be able to bring in. Ever walking into a small supermarket nearby, right? You would see that there is a spotlight on top of your head. Wherever you go, that is where the light switches on. If people are not there, the light switches off. If you walk into a More or a Spencer's, it is always lit. Now, these guys are masters of cutting costs. So we leave those activities to them.
Okay.
But we help them with all the technology pieces, saying that this is a billing system that you can use, and they bill all the products through the system to the end customer. It is like no bargaining. They get good rates, they get loyalty points, they get great discounts, and then they walk away from the store very happily.
Great. So you're just digitalizing their local stores into a mart or something.
Digitizing their local stores and also ensuring that the quality of products is top notch and the prices are reasonable enough for them to purchase.
Can you just name all the things you are providing, including merchandising, branding, marketing, all those sort of things you are providing for the retail stores?
So for a store, definitely the branding piece, because they have SuperK as the brand, and then they have their own name, Shivajyoti Supermarket or Srihari Supermarket. They have both their identity with the backing of a great brand. All the inventory that is sold at the store is provided by SuperK, 100% sourced by us and supplied to them through our supply chain.
Okay.
And marketing is something which we take care of.
Okay.
They don't have to worry about how do I advertise about my store to the local customers. That is something that we take care of. Now for a, let's say we do a lot of BTL activities. Okay. You take a pamphlet and then you distribute it to people, right? If I have one store or two stores or 5 stores or 10 stores, it doesn't matter. I have to distribute it to the entire city or the entire town. Now for one store it might cost me 60,000 rupees in the small town, but even for 10 stores that is what it is.
Makes sense.
So that's where we have the benefits of scale.
Okay.
We do the marketing for those people. Right? All the inventory digitization. Now there are many POS players in this country, but what many of us do not realize is it is very tough for someone at the shop to digitize inventory.
Okay.
Let's say, if you ever walked into any unbranded supermarkets, half the billing is on a POS machine, half of it is not on the POS machine, even if you ask for a bill.
Okay.
POS machines are used as calculators and not as POS machines. Because entering the data into that machine is not so easy. The digitization piece, which everyone talks in the world, I don't think it is happening. It is very tough for people to enter data into a POS system because the MRPs keep on changing. And imagine when a delivery comes in for a store partner. Let's say any store that you walk into, Unilever might have given Taj Mahal for 90 rupees MRP. Right? Now, when he sets up the shop, he enters it as a 90 rupees MRP. But after 3 deliveries, after 3 months or 4 months, Unilever introduces the same product with the same barcode at 95 rupees MRP. It changes the MRP for Taj Mahal tea, right? Because whatever the cost that they incur, they keep on changing that cost. Now, this guy might have finished all the inventory that is there at his store of 90 rupees MRP. At the same time, a delivery person comes and gives him 10 packets of 95 rupees ka MRP. Right? Now, a customer doesn't wait for him to feed that data into this system. Says that, I see this product, I'll pick it up from the floor and I'll go for billing. Now, this guy, the customer is again impatient. He doesn't want him to enter data. He's like, I gave you at the product, you give me money.
Exactly.
I give you money, give me my change. Right? So this guy is not able to enter that into the system. Now, this is one product that we're talking about. There are at least 3,000 to 3,500 SKUs in every small supermarket that you visit. Imagine him maintaining that inventory for all those products. Next to impossible.
Correct. 100%. Right.
So this is where people like us come into the picture, because all the products that are supplied to the store are inverted in our system beforehand at our warehouse. So every product that is there at the store is digitized. Now, this is a value many people do not understand that we are adding into this ecosystem. Okay. And then the second piece is staples. Small towns or big cities, people want good quality products. If you look at many of these small supermarkets, they have these things in boris. People, pick up those products and then they are packed, sealed, and then given off. Right? Now, there are insects which go deep down into every product has insects. That's how this pulses market is. right? Even if you do fumigation, there is still some insects that can come into it whenever they're put in the bins. Right? Now, what we do is that when these small supermarkets are operating individually, they have a chotu there who keeps on regularly cleaning those, packing them, putting in the shelves. But now with SuperK, all this is mechanized.
Okay.
The cleaning, the processing, the packing, everything is mechanized, and they get in branded packs. So they don't have to employ one more chotu to clean and do the processing of these products. So all the staples, which is almost 40% of the customer basket, is coming as a branded product itself. So these are few of the many things that we do for a store partner.
Okay. So where does your commission, profit, or revenue comes in with the service you are providing? Is it a one-time fixed time cost, or is it completely depends on like
It depends on the sale of the product. So let's say there is a product, we invoice it to him at some amount, and then he sells it to the customer at a predefined amount. So at every product, there is a different margin that we make. There's a different margin that he makes.
Okay.
So at SuperK, the fundamental philosophy is if we are making any transaction, we have to make money there.
Okay. It's yeah, makes sense. Because the service you are providing is phenomenal, and currently, are you like constrained to small towns, or is it what is currently where you're working? Which state?
So I think this model makes absolute sense for the small towns, the one that we are operating today. So in this model, we'll only operate in the small towns. If we are targeting like cities or anything which is not under our radar, at least for the next 3 to 4 years, there is a lot of market in the small towns itself that can be encompassed. So we'll be going behind that only.
Okay. And which city currently are operating? Is it like you have diverse to multiple city, multiple states, or is it right now in which?
No. So we grocery again is a business of volumes.
Sure.
So you have to be very, very careful on how you grow. I can't have one store in Andhra Pradesh and one store in Haryana, one store in Rajasthan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Karnataka. Right? So we have almost 50 stores today. All of them are in and around the region of the district of Kadapa and Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh. So we are present almost in 35 odd towns in these 35 odd towns or villages in this 2 districts that we are operating today. I think by end of this year, we will grow up to 300 stores.
Great. That's great. So one question I had is basically your TAM is right now a small on the basis of your business model. It's a small cities, right? So how difficult it is for you to aware them? How difficult it is for you to convince them? Because are you targeting somebody who is an entrepreneur mindset or somebody who is local, that business wala mindset? What is your way to reaching out?
So, we do digital market. Again, if there are 2 things over here, we are a B2B2C business model. So on the B2B side, it is about finding franchisee partners. On the B2C side, it is about getting customers to those stores. Sure. So getting customers to the stores, again, we do a lot of digital marketing and again, very limited digital marketing and a lot of BTL activities, BTL ATL activities. And, the most interesting piece of us attracting the customers is the offers that we give. Again, we don't give like a DMart or anyone like 8-9% offer. We only give a 2% offer on most of the products that we sell to the customers. But that also is a very, very big thing in the small towns because no one sells even at MRP. Everyone sells everything more than MRP. Okay. So giving a 2% discount is also a very big thing for most of them. So word of mouth spreads very, very fast here. And for acquiring the franchisee partners, people from different walks of life come and take up our franchises. We have seen real estate owners who are coming up and taking up our franchisee saying that, can you put up one supermarket in our neighborhood where we are developing, because we'll be able to sell our plots or our houses even faster because we can tell them that there's a supermarket already.
Great.
Right? And then there are Sorry.
There are layers to it. A lot of things is coming up, which is not.
Yeah, multiple things, right? So there are like FMCG sales guys or other sales people who have to roam different places in the district or in this state. Now these guys, they understand this business, so they are taking up our franchisee, saying that I can stay at my home and I can still make 50-60,000 rupees a month. There are like a couple of TCS employees who have taken up our stores.
Great.
They have come back from Bangalore. One has taken up in Anantapur and one in very small town in in the Kadapa region. So they're like, I can sit at home and I can still make 50-60,000 rupees, which is a big sum for them.
Definitely.
Right. So yeah, very, very different walks of life. And there are like few more guys who, let's say, many of their, everyone is an engineer today, but they don't know what to do after that. So rich families, they come to us and they tell us that they want to get their kids married, so now they want them to have a branded business, so even they take up our stores. So it's like there's a pride associated with taking up a SuperK store.
Sure.
So people from different walks of life come and take up a SuperK franchising.
Great, man. Since you sometime back you were talking about the competitors, currently what all sort of direct indirect competitors you have, and what is your USP to differentiate with them?
The most important thing to understand for in competition per se is my competition is my neighborhood kirana guy only. Because I let's say someone is operating in Delhi, Bangalore, Gurgaon, Mumbai, or any of these places, they are not competing with me today.
Exactly.
So my direct competitor is the person who is selling beside my store. Now, even for any competition, everyone can be a competitor, right? Swiggy, Instamart can be a competitor. Zepto can be a competitor. Big Basket can be a competitor. But for them to come and compete with me till the time they don't come here, in the small towns that I'm operating, till then they are not competition to me.
Currently, are you providing the home deliveries option in the mart? Are you providing that?
Sorry, I didn't get you. I lost your voice.
Currently, are you providing the home deliveries like what Swiggy, Zepto, Blinkit, and Big Basket is providing? Are you providing that for that marts?
So we enable our store partners to they can accept online orders. They can accept orders through WhatsApp. They all have a chotu at their store who goes and delivers those products. So I don't have to really get into that business. And the very interesting piece is, see, the store partner is from the same community in that locality. Now everyone knows him very, very well. Even for a customer, it's like I get good quality products from the neighborhood uncle that I always knew.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're more, I would say, if an order comes late from Swiggy, Zomato, Zepto, something goes wrong, we all go to Twitter and do all the halla, right? But these guys are more accepting and more forgiving to these store partners because they know them. We don't know the face of Swiggy, but it's a neighborhood kirana uncle. We know his face.
But definitely, but don't you think the competition is going to be a bit difficult for them when the Swiggy or the big this kind of company will come in, because the game they has crossed the money barrier. They have reached to the quick home delivery wala cheese. So it's going to be much difficult when these players go to the small town. What will be the gameplay? Do you have a plan for that?
Well, I think the best way, so you look at how Swiggy or Zomato or anyone is operating today, right? They're operating it through dark stores. Why is it that they shut down their grocery verticals through which, like the restaurant business? The reason why they don't do it is the inventory is not digitized. They can rather tie up with me and then get the deliveries from my stores only, instead of setting up their own supply chains in these small towns, which again is not so easy. And the other point to understand is, for many of these small town people, unlike you and me, they don't make money sitting at home. They want to step out. They want to go. This is like the grocery store experience is something which they all crave for.
Sorry, just I'm interrupting you for 1 minute. I'm getting a call. One second. Really sorry for this one. One second. Really, really sorry for this interruption.
No worries.
Please continue. We're talking about that everything.
Yeah. So there will definitely be competition, but I think we can, the way that we look at it is like we're building an offline API for India. Any of these players can come plug in with us, with our network. The inventory will all be there in the system, and they can play the game along with us.
Sure. Great, man. That's what actually came into my mind first, thinking it's going to be a difficult gameplay when this big investors come in. Big players, big market like Blinkit and all this, because when the game goes for like quick delivery thing, it becomes very difficult for local player to compete with them. Basically, that's
no, man, I don't think that is a situation, right? Because the grocery market is so big. It is very huge.
Okay.
Right. And the thing is, you need to have a very, very different understanding of the small town to play this business altogether.
Okay.
It's not so easy for anyone to play this game, right? In Bangalore, you buy a tuar dal for whatever the MRP is. Now, if you sell the same tuar dal in the small towns for an MRP, people would just go crazy. They know the rates of every product that you can sell to them, because this is a farming community. People know how much it can work for. So it's a very different mindset. And by the time I think any competition will come over here, we'll be 3 to 4 years ahead of them.
Great.
So we'll give a run for their money. It's not at all a problem.
For sure. So basically, just tell me what is for example, there's an entrepreneur who want to approach you to like collaborate with you, that I want to create a retail store with your brand name, so SuperK. How will this work? What is the process of like making things work for them?
Sure. So anyone who comes up to take up a SuperK franchisee, they have to check for a place. So they'll go through a screening process first.
Sure.
So there's we have a sales team which does their interviews.
Okay.
For them to know if this person can really take up a franchisee, or is he really interested in this, right? Does he have it in himself to go through this entire journey and build a business? So it's an interview that happens. It's not that we are waiting for people to come and take up our franchises. As in, we screen them first, and once that screening process is done, then they show us a location in which they would want to take up, put up the supermarket. Our team vets it, and if at all everything is good, then they pay us a small franchisee fee, and they order all the racks and everything for that store, which is needed, and they get that store ready, and they buy all the inventory that is needed for that store from us. It is a recommendation that we give them. We tell them that we believe that all these products can be sold at your store. So they buy all those products from us. And once that purchase is done, based on the sale, the auto replenishment happens for that store.
Great, man. So for somebody who wants to become like, for example, you have to, you're also carrying your brand like a brand, because some customer who is saying the SuperK board, they are 100% sure that it's a completely reliable place to purchase from. So that's what it signifies basically. So it's not just somebody approaching me, you will be like, okay, join. It's not like that. There's a proper process of screening them, the proper process of learning what are their plans and how they are going to work. So it
also includes training too. So we train them for a week before they can open up the store.
Great. So we got to know about everything about SuperK and how this process work and how it's like helping the like small businesses, small town cities and all this thing. Just tell me about what is your and co-founders. Or you didn't mention much about your co-founder. Can you please like what are your guys' roles and how it's working?
I mean, Neeraj is one of the ex founders of this company called Hunger Box.
Okay.
So uh, I Neeraj and I have been batchmates from BITS Pilani.
Oh.
So we've known each other for the last almost like maybe 12, 13 years now. And we came, so he was with Flipkart, Zeta earlier. Both of us came together at this time to start up SuperK. I think we have our own strengths, and we divided based on it. So Neeraj likes to chat with people, understand their problems, and have a discussion with them, help them grow. He has a very clear understanding of the customer base and all those things. So Neeraj handles the franchisee sales expansion, the marketing, branding piece for SuperK, and the investor relations. I, on the other hand, more operational, have a very high attention to detail. So everything that is there internally is something which I take care of. Everything that is external is something which Neeraj takes care of. So be it procurement or the supply chain operations or the tech and product,
Hmm.
for enabling all the teams internally, the finance teams, and everything is something which I take care of. And the external pieces, marketing, branding, franchisee sales,
Hmm.
uh, is under Neeraj.
Sure. See, this is before we go to the last phase of this podcast. I just want, it's my personal question. I just want to understand ki, when is the time you reach out to angel investors, or when is the time you reach out to venture capitalists? Because there's a very different gameplay and very different like time intervals and all this stuff. Where is the time? How did it work? How does it work?
So I think the lines have blurred of late.
Okay.
Angels are doing large checks as well. The VCs are coming in very early on. So for today's context, I don't see a huge difference in both of them. People are reaching out to VCs, or VCs are reaching out to people. It's become a very competitive market. VCs are reaching out to founders, asking them if they have any idea or what they are working on and all these things, right? So there's no right or wrong time, I would say, but it is more about you having an understanding of what you want to do. And if you have an idea saying that I want to build this business, now you make a you'll have to make a plan on how you would execute it, and then reach out to people accordingly. Not the other way around, that I reach out to people, I'll do this business only if I raise money. That is not how it has to happen.
Hmm. Great.
I hope I did answer.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Definitely, it makes sense. And also, there's some bit concept of micro VCs also. They are also in the play between angel investor and VC and all this stuff. So yeah, so
Yeah,
definitely.
so now the lines have blurred, man. There's no clear differentiation on who does what and when.
Hmm, sure. So also, so let's go to that part where you please explain us what are your short-term and long-term goals in the coming time.
So for us, I think in the short term, I think by this end of this year, as I did mention, the target is to achieve or hit a target of 300 stores by end of this year, and by 2025, having a presence in 15,000 to 20,000 stores is the target for us.
Sure, great man. So is it any plan to go into the tier one cities, or currently you're operating in the like local cities only?
No, I think a lot of people imagine that there is very less business in the small towns of India, right? Now, many model competitors of ours who are running this business,
Hmm.
be it in Delhi or Bangalore, their average store GMV is somewhere around 30 to 40 lakhs or 50 lakhs per year. But my average GMV for each store is almost 1 to 1.5 CR. So when I say 300 stores, I'm talking about a GMV of 400 crores. And when I say 15,000 stores, I'm talking about a GMV of 20 to 25,000 crores annually, right? That is DMart's scale. Today DMart's GMV is 25,000 crores, right?
Okay.
So in the small towns, there is so much of a business, so much of potential. I don't have to look beyond this.
Great, man. Great. You're very, very specific and very clear about what this business model clearly signifies. It's great, man. So we have discussed a lot about business and funding and investors and everything. I just want to go in the very lighter part where you just tell me what do you do in your leisure? Is it you watch movies, you watch web series? What do you do? Or do you you can also say that I don't get much time to do all this thing and how it happens. Yeah.
No, I think I manage time to watch a movie daily.
Oh,
I can't.
great.
I can't sleep without watching a movie. So the way it works is like I have two screens. On one screen, a movie plays, and on the other screen, I'm doing my work. So when I'm working and I'm watching a movie, it is more like a movie which I've already watched some time ago, so that I only keep on hearing that audio and then I get my work done.
Mm.
So for me, it's like I can't resist watching a movie. So if I get time, I am just watching a movie.
Great, great, man, great. Thank you so much. That's a lot of thing to learn from you. In the end, I just want to ask you for some tips and something for an entrepreneur who are coming up, like what they should focus more on in the coming, like in the initial phase. Because there are a lot of people who are watching this video or somebody who is like starting up, who are thinking to start up their business. They might have some idea, but they don't know how to execute and how to start. So can you please give some tips and tricks to them?
So what I fundamentally believe is that you plan well,
Hmm.
that is good, but you have to start executing.
Okay.
If you don't execute, you don't really know what happens when the rubber hits the road.
Hmm.
There can be a lot of things that you can keep on imagining, and the very important point to understand is no problem is as big as what you or I feel it to be.
Hmm. Correct.
Every problem can be solved. It's just that you need to identify the root cause of the problem and you'll be able to solve it. Many people just get into that spiral, thinking that if this happens then this is going to happen, if this happens then this is how it will happen, and this is how it will pan out, right? But the thing to understand is every problem can be solved. It's completely okay. You will go wrong, but have that determination that will come out of this. That's very important. And having self belief, again, overconfidence is different, having self belief is different. So believe in yourself that you'll be able to make it very big. And last but not the least, in my childhood I used to think that I will become the next Ambani. But as I started growing up, the reality started hitting me hard, saying that yeah, this is really tough. But it's very tough to when I used to hear in the childhood saying that dream big, I thought it was always easy, but it is not. Dreaming big should be a conscious effort. Only then you get motivated with all the hassles that you are coming across on a daily basis.
Sure. There's a
So even for us, right, today I still dream of building the largest retail company this world has ever seen. But
yeah,
it's very tough to dream that way.
sure, definitely. So basically, what you're trying to convey is ki, make a strategic plan, take a tiny steps and take a lot of data out of it and start executing it in that process. Being very specific, you should have a clarity of thought what you want to do, and then you should go on for executing. It's not just all about thinking. The basic thing, the main thing comes when you start executing it. That's where you get the real problems, which you haven't.
Yeah, dream big is the first thing, right? You need to dream very, very big as the first step. And then you need to, take those tiny steps
Sure.
to achieve that, but not get bogged with the, problems that come your way.
Sure, man, sure. That's a great thing to take it up if you are continuing the entrepreneur journey. Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Got a lot about it and about SuperK, about your experiences, about journey, about investment funding. A lot of things we can get out of this podcast. Thank you so much for just in the last before ending it. I just want to ask you that would you like to say something about chat with champions? Did you like coming here, or is it bad, terribly bad? How was it? How was your experience?
No, it was amazing, man. It was nice catching up with you, chatting, with on the show. And yeah, it's my bad that I was not able to make time earlier. There were too many things that were going on Saturdays. I generally keep it for my meetings. So I block time Saturday very very specifically, saying that this is the day that I'm meeting many people.
Sure.
So yeah, it gets tough for me to find a slot. Then that's the reason why I had to keep on postponing this. But I'm glad we were able to finally do this.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me if you've joined the show. Thank you so much for coming here. So let's end it over here only. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this podcast. You know the drill. You have to like, share, and subscribe. And whatever you want to ask Anil or about the SuperK or any questions you have, you can put it down in the comment. I'll take an extra effort to reach out to Anil and answer you all. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Let's go. Bye bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.